What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next, got a pretty awesome unboxing here, some great books, including one that I think is really good to be looking at right now, and I'm actually going to give that book away. So stay tuned for the giveaway on that book. Then also I'm going to do the grading of these because these are all raw books, so I'm going to grade them, talk about how I came up with those estimates. So stay tuned. So before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So like I said, I've got a couple boxes here, some pretty awesome books in here. One that I think you should definitely looking for right now, and I'm actually going to be doing a giveaway of that book. So you're going to have to stay tuned at least till I open this box here, which I'll do this one first, and you can see which book I'm giving away and how you can get that book. Then at the end, I'm going to be doing the grading all of these because they are all raw. Now, I think that the book that I'm doing the giveaway is in this box, because this one feels a little heavier. One of these boxes has 2 books, one has 3. And there are also some pretty awesome Golden Age books in here. 1, possibly 2 that might make it onto my keepers list. They're lower grade, but there's some really cool pre-code horror books that are definitely ones that I've been keeping an eye out for. So both of these packages, they came from Super World Comics. I've talked about them a number of times. One of them I picked up from they were at San Diego Comic-Con, and they were doing a live sale there, and I picked up from there. I believe that's this box. Then the other one, they have their weekly claim sale that they do on Tuesdays, and I picked up a few books from that, and I'm pretty sure that's what's in this box. So we'll find out, or if I, open the wrong ones, because I removed the labels, and so I can't always remember what it is. So I'm making some educated guesses here. So let's see here. I think there are 3 books in here, so I'm pretty sure. So you can see it was in that box. Then it's got, it's inside cardboard and everything. So I'm just gonna make the blade as short as possible so that I hopefully don't mix something. And yeah, because that would be, that would suck. It would suck so much if I nicked one of these books. All right. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So this is the one that has the giveaway in it, and also just another. There's 4 books in here. I don't think I bought 4 books. Oh, I did buy 4 books. All right. There's 4 books in here. There's also a Silver Age book that's in this one. Okay. All right. So the first book, I am never going to turn down low-numbered Amazing Spider-Man, regardless of condition, if the price is right. And I felt like the price was great for this book. I've had this one other time. I think this book is detached and everything. It's a low grade. It's like probably a 1.5 or something, but we'll go over that when I do the grading. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 8. This is the first appearance of the Living Brain, super major character there. You've also got the Human Torch crossover. I think it's a cool yellow cover. The yellow and red mix well. But this is actually, I'd say this is probably the least expensive book in the first 10 issues. But still, it's in the first 10 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, so just awesome book to pick up. It's got some major spine splitting and things going on here. But yeah, lower grade book, but still presents relatively well. So I decided to pick this one up. Then the next book here is Journey into Fear, number 18. I've ever since I saw this cover, I've wanted to try to pick up a copy of this one. I just think it's really funny. It's like the skeleton like creeping on this lady that's in her room. So I think it's a really funny concept for a cover. But again, lower grade book, not a high grade book, but looks like it has a pretty big spine roll. Definitely something I'll look into, and I'm going to decide if I want to send these off for grading. It's something that I'll have to look at afterwards when I look at the price and values and all of that, but definitely one that I'll be considering depending on how I feel this grade can turn out. But Journey into Fear number 18. Skull covers, always something that you want to be looking for. If you're interested in Golden Age, if you're interested in pre-code horror, skull covers are one of the most in demand. Then when you add kind of like a good girl art element to it, it's just something else that makes that book just that much more popular and more in demand. I've talked about that before. You want to look for these pre-code horror books that tend to have multiple elements on them that make them in demand, and so this one has that crossover on it. So second book. Third book, this one's really cool. So This is Captain Flight number 9. And the thing that makes this one especially cool, and I don't even really need to do the grading, granted it's been cracked out, so I don't know how much I want to handle it, but this one is it's a Davis Crippen copy, and it was a 6.5. And I found this book when it was graded on, I think on Go Collect. They had a picture of a prior sale, and so it is absolutely the same book because it has this same flaw up in the corner there where it's missing this little piece out of the spine. The only thing that makes me a little nervous about it is that I feel like CGC is grading that spineware stuff a little harsher right now. But this is one that I do plan to send in regardless. I want to get that pedigree label for it. So what I'm going to probably have to do is I'll make a copy of this pedigree sheet here, and it was from Heritage, so it's one of their official ones that they had graded, and I'll send that into CGC, and hopefully I'll be able to get that gold label with this Captain Flight number 9, just awesome LB Cole cover, and so it's a World War II era cover. You've got the Japanese planes on there that are being in this air battle. So Captain Flight has some really cool covers in them, so definitely something that I'd recommend checking out if you want to get into LB Cole. They're a little more affordable. When you've got his horror covers, those tend to be the most expensive, but he did a number of these plane type covers, these ones that have kind of like air battles, that kind of thing. Those ones tend to be a little bit more affordable, but I just thought this was really cool that it was a Crippen pedigree copy, since that's one of there are a number of levels of pedigrees, some that are more in demand than others, and Crippens are pretty in demand copies, pretty in demand pedigree. So yep, there's that one. And then now the fourth book from this box, this is the one that I am going to be giving away, and this is Incredible Hulk number 340. So if you want a chance to get this book, leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and in the comment make sure you include #Wolverine. I'll write that down here. It's the # and then Wolverine, no space between the # and Wolverine, and then when I do the search for it, I'll be able to see your comment, and I will do this one for the giveaway. So this is the classic Todd McFarlane Wolverine versus Hulk, where he's got Hulk on his claws there. Just an incredible cover. I mean, one of just the top covers from the Copper Age. Huge demand for this book, and it's actually been coming down in price, so that's why I'm saying, like, this is also the book that I think you should really be looking for if you've been waiting to add it. It maintains a pretty high value regardless of grade. It has a big spike when you get to the 9.8, 9.6 range, but below that it tends to maintain a pretty consistent value, and so definitely one that has a lot of value regardless of condition. I don't remember exactly what this one is, and we'll talk about that when I do the grading, but it looks pretty nice. It's definitely got some spineware and that kind of thing, but still awesome Wolverine Hulk cover, and this is what I'm giving away. So remember, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and a comment with #Wolverine. All right, now I'm going to get into this next box here, and then after that we'll go through the grading. So next box, also from Superworld, and this one should have 2 books in it. This is the one that I picked up from their sale at San Diego Comic-Con. And so the other way, kind of joked that I like to think about that is that, you didn't have to pay for the ticket to go out to San Diego to go to the Comic-Con, and so got to pick up this book from that convention, or these books from that convention. Now these are 2 awesome Pre-Code Horror Golden Age books. Pre-Code Horror, this has been a trend that has really picked up. They have been getting more and more expensive, more and more in demand. I don't really know what's driving it. Some people have said it's because I talk about it too much on my channel. So that could be it. Maybe I'm having an impact on these prices, and so maybe I need to talk about them less so that I can keep getting the books that I want. But yeah, I love this stuff. I think it's, and I said I'm not like a huge horror fan. It's more that I like how these fit into the history of comics. I think it's so crazy that you had these super violent covers in the 50s that were being designed for kids. I think it's just such an interesting part of comic history. And so one of these, like I said, I picked up, they did an impromptu sale when they showed up at San Diego Comic-Con, and I picked up one of those from that. The other one was from a Elite Comics 11 was out at the Comic-Con, and they were doing live sales that they were supporting through the at the convention. They were going around to different dealers and doing the live sales with them and selling them through Instagram on their channel. And so one of those I bought from that. Now, these are both, lower grade copies of these books, but they are two incredible pre-code horror covers. Super happy to be able to get these. And like I said, both of these might end up in my keepers list. We'll see. All right, so the first one is Beware number 6. Again, lower grade copy. You can see, it's got a lot of spine wear. We'll get a closer look at it when I do the grading. It's got wear up at the top and all that kind of thing. But in the Beware run, there are a few great covers. I think issue number 10 is a Frazetta cover. That one might be the most valuable one in the run. But Beware number 6 is another pretty great one. You've got this skeleton zombie type guy coming out of the ground that these people apparently murdered and buried, and now he's coming back. But awesome cover, just great pre-code horror cover. So that's the first one. The next one, this one is from Atlas. This is one of the bigger Atlas pre-code horror books. This one is in very low grade, but it presents well for the main image, and that's what was important to me on this one. This is Astonishing number 30. And so you can see it has some mouse chew down on the corner here that unfortunately, damaged the book. It's got a lot of spine wear, but the main image where you've got these eyes just melting this guy looks really nice. This is one that I'll have to think about if I even want to get it pressed before I get it graded. It looks like it could improve it in terms of appearance. Likely will not impact the grade because it's got these major flaws, on here. But I know I do want to get this one graded. It's just one that I'm not sure if it's worthwhile to bother getting it pressed first, just because of the overall general condition of the book. But yeah, Astonishing number 30 is one of the top Atlas horror covers. I mean, just incredible cover. There's actually at least one other one that swipes it. I can't remember the cover, where it's like a statue that's eyes are melting the person. But this one is definitely more violent, where it's actually showing the full skeleton and like his just basically melting into a puddle of goo, like the Indiana Jones movie. But yeah, awesome cover. Super happy to be able to pick this one up. Like I said, this was the one that I picked up from the Elite Comics 11 sale that they were doing with Superworld. The other one was from Superworld's live sale that they did. But all right, those are all the books that I picked up. Now I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to go through the grading. All right, so we've got the first book here. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 8. You can see this one, it actually presents relatively well. It's no big pieces out of the front. It's got this store stamp on the cover there, but that's definitely not going to be a limiting factor in this book. Now, if you've watched my prior videos on grading, what I like to do first is I like to look for a limiting flaw. So the flaw that's going to keep it from getting above a certain grade. I think this one is detached, so let's look at that first. So yes, this one is detached, and so you can see it's got a lot of splitting here. It's off the back cover. So it's detached, and so you're already going to be down. I mean, the max generally that you'll see with a detached cover is around a 3.0. I think I've maybe seen something higher than that, but generally a 3.0 if everything else is perfect. I believe maybe I've seen a 4 if it's like perfectly cut, but I believe generally around a 3.0 is going to be the max that you're going to get. This is not going to get a 3.0 because then this book also has a lot of tears. So it's not fully split down the spine. If you had a full split down the spine, generally the max you're going to get is around a 1.5. You might get a 1.8, especially if you get back into the golden age. I don't know if this one will get there because it just has a lot of tears on it and a lot of general wear. But so we've got down on the bottom here, we've got about 2.5 inches of tears. Then at the top we have 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 to 3.5 inches of tears. And so total we're at about 6 inches of tears on the spine. So to me, right away there, this book, the top grade it's going to get is probably a 1.5. It might get a 1.8. Let's see what the back looks like. So you got the back again. It's complete. It's not missing any pieces. You've just got these. You've got these large tears over here. You've got a little bit of like discoloration, a little discoloration here, but this one is actually one that I would say if it's complete, you can grade it pretty quickly. You almost don't even really need to consider anything else that's going on in this book. I think with this being detached, it's still being connected, in this section here, and having about 6 inches of tears. I think a 1.5, maybe a 1.8 is the range for this book. Now, the one thing I will do, because I like to do, is I'll do a flip through. I also like to check for restoration, because even if a book is low grade, it can still have restoration on it that can then damage the value. And so I don't see anything that looks like color touch. There's nothing that really strikes me as trimming on this book. I mean, I don't think somebody would trim a book that's this low grade, but things could happen where it got some type of restoration was done in the book before it received a lot of the damage, and then it, that could be missed. And that's the type of restoration that will often get missed because people will think nobody would restore a book like that. But the reality is maybe that restoration was done a long time ago. Now, the other thing I like to do is I like to do a flip through. And so you can see the interior, and I'll speed it up when I do that flip through, but this is just to make sure we've got all the pages and there are no cutouts. And this book, it's a Silver Age book, standard Silver Age book, so it'll have the cover, then 8 pages to center, then the centerfold, then 8 more pages in the back cover. All right, so that's the whole book. You could see that on the centerfold that the bottom staple was detached. That is not a limiting flaw in this book. The limiting flaw in this book is that spine. That spine and being detached is really what's going to kill the grade on this one. And when you look at all the other little tears that are along the edges and everything, I think this book is more likely to get a 1.5. I think it's better than a 1.0, but I think this book is going to be at a 1.5 with that amount of tears and just the detachment and general wear. So 1.5 is where, after kind of looking at this one, is where I'm going to put this book. All right, so next up, we've got the Astonishing number 30. I believe this one is actually attached. I'm going to handle it pretty carefully. I don't want to accidentally detach it. So it looks like it is attached up there, and it looks like it's attached down on the bottom here. There's definitely some spine splitting. Again, I'm looking for limiting flaws. There's some spine splitting, some general spine wear. We've got, this is, one of the big issues, looks like rodent chew down on the bottom there. Let's see if it doesn't get into the art. So that's a big plus, that it's not into the art. And so that's something that I like to see, because that can hurt the book more. Let's take a look at the back cover. Back cover looks decent. We've got some tears and things, but what you would expect with a book that in general looks like this. But like I said, the main image, the thing that you really want with these pre-code horror books, where you've got the eyes melting that guy on the cover, looks pretty good. Not a lot that's really disrupting the image, and so that I'm pretty happy about that. So this one, again, we're already starting pretty low with this book. Missing a big piece out of the corner here across the entire book. If everything else was perfect and that was missing, I've had a book that was I believe a 4.0 that had some mouse chew on the corner here and here, not quite as much total as this one. So I'd say if everything else was perfect and it just had this, it would probably be like a 2.5 or a 3. And so I'm going to say already we're not getting above a 2.5 with this book. And then when we start looking at the spine, we've got this tear up here. If you saw when I opened it, it's attached, the cover's attached there, but it's actually torn. And so, yeah, it's attached, but it's torn here. And so you've got a lot of general spine wear and tears. And so without looking at much else, and that's one of the things I've talked about, when you start getting into these low grades, it becomes more of an art, what you've seen before, than trying to count up flaws. That's where counting up flaws doesn't really work unless you've got a really high grade book. You're really looking for those big limiting flaws that are going to hold this book back. And so, like I said, you've got this down here, which is probably going to hold it back to about 2.5 if everything else is perfect. But then we've got this tear up here. We've got these tears. You've got, if we go along the book, you know, you can see the spine has just a lot of wear on it. Somebody read this book quite a bit, which is fine. That's what, you know, this is what the books are designed for. You've got a lot of wear there. You've got this relatively long crease right here. You've got wear along the top edge. This is, I think, a tear. Yeah, you kind of gotta see this. It partially tears through the cover there. You've got this tear here. But like I said, colors look decent. It's actually got a little, you know, it's got a little gloss to it. You know, that kind of thing. So that's a nice plus for this book. So is there anything? Nothing looks trimmed to me. I've talked about that before. You know, with trimming, you'd look for kind of like the. I mean, this definitely has a spine roll. I mean, you can see this is from a spine roll here, and you can see that on the back that you've got these pages flared out. And so it's one of those situations where pressing might improve the presentation of this book. But man, it is risky to press this book. Are you going to detach these staples when you press it, when you correct that spine roll? Maybe. And then it might not actually impact the grade much just because it's already so low. But it's the type of thing that would really concern me. We've got a tear up here. And the back cover actually I'd say looks quite a bit better than the front. You've got a little bit of foxing. We talked about that. You've got foxing here, which is these little brown dots that are on the back. But those are the types of flaws that aren't really hurting this one. I'm looking for the major flaws. With this, I think a 1.5 is very likely with this book because we're already at a max of a 2.5, but then we've got these tears and, you know, general spine wear. So I think a 1.5 is likely where this book is going to sit. I think I could even get lucky and maybe get a 1.8 with it. But I think a 1.5 is where this book is going to sit. I'll have to decide if I want to get it pressed or not. You can see there's some rippling on the cover there. And so that type of thing could be improved, and it could improve the presentation of the book. But with a book like this, you're looking at more improving the presentation, not the grade. And then we want to always, that's an awesome opening splash page. Look at that thing. Melting the guy, like the tentacle eyes. Yeah, that's cool. Now the other thing I always like to do, especially with Golden Age books, I want to look for some type of restoration. Is there anything like color touch on here? And I don't see anything that jumps out as bleed through. You know, especially with a black cover like this, if somebody had tried to fill in some of these creases, if we saw bleed through here. And I don't see anything. Nothing that jumps out. I didn't check the page count on this one, but I believe that these ones were the same, that these were 8 to center. And so we'll do the quick flip through, and then you can see this interior, because you're not going to see the interior of this book very often. This is a pretty rare pre-code horror book. Yeah, so that's the book. All the pages were there. I don't know if you could tell or not, but the centerfold is attached to both staples. And, you know, it's attachable staples at the front cover. So I've got this one at a 1.5. You know, like I said, maybe I get lucky and it gets a 1.8, but I don't think so. That spine, looking as rough as it is, plus this. I'd be disappointed if they gave it a 1. I wouldn't be shocked, but I would be disappointed if they gave this book a 1.0. I am going to have to decide if I want to get this one pressed or not. I do want to get it graded. I think it's such a cool book, and it'll look cool presented in in a slab. But 1.5 is where I've got this one. All right, now we've got the giveaway book here. This is Hulk 340, the classic Todd McFarlane cover, and this one doesn't look that bad. You know, we'll take a look at the general wear on this one, see if there's anything on the back. I mean, I'd say this book really doesn't look half bad at all. It's got some light creasing here, you know, that's gonna, I can't tell if it breaks, yeah, it breaks color a little bit at the top, not maybe all the way through, a little more creasing. But this is one, let's take a close look at this one. Let's look all along the spine and see what kind of flaws we've got here. So you can see it's got pretty general spine wear, a number of color breaking spine ticks, but really nothing on the front cover that jumps out as problematic. You've got a little, maybe like, what's that, half-inch crease in the corner there. And then going along this side, really nothing that jumps out again. And the top edge, there's a little bit of wear. And then you can tell this book, it hasn't been pressed. There's dimpling and that kind of thing on the cover. I've talked about this. When I'm grading books, I'm generally looking at the book, what it would be post-pressing. And so it's got these little light creases here, but they don't break color. The dimpling doesn't break color. Those are things that can all be improved. And so if I was just looking at the front cover of this book, I mean, probably a 5.5, something like that. Maybe a 6. It's a decent looking copy, like especially once you get it pressed. Now let's go to the back cover. Now the back cover is a lot darker. It's going to show those flaws along the spine more, but I would say most of those spine ticks that are on the front, they're made more visible on the back. And so you've got quite a few of them. The main flaw on this book is really, you've got this crease here that is probably maybe 4 inches, something like that. You've got this crease here. You've got a little bit of creasing down here. But there's a little creasing you can see here as well. And so maybe this book has a total of, say, like 7 or 8 inches of creases. It's got some general spine wear. I think taking into account the front cover with its general wear and then the back cover of what we've got here, I think this book is probably around a 5.5. Especially after a press, I think 5s are pretty guaranteed. Could you get a 6? Maybe. It depends how much this stuff can be cleaned up, how color breaking this one ends up being. I think with this down here too, the amount of wear there, 6 might be out of the question, but I'd say a 5.5 is a pretty reasonable expectation for this book. So let's take a look at the interior. I always want to check for things like color touch. We really want to look along the spine. That's where you'll often see bleed through along the spine where somebody's trying to fill in those creases. I don't see anything there. I don't see anything on the interior. Pages look pretty nice. These could be white pages. I think there's a good chance that these are white pages. These pages look pretty nice. And let's do the flip through and then we'll look at the back cover. All right, so there were all the pages. It had, centerfold was attached, all of that. You saw at the kind of like the second half of the book, you have that awesome Hulk versus Wolverine battle. The back cover, I don't see anything again that looks like there was any color touch. And often the back covers are white, and so you wouldn't need to check, but in this case, the back cover is black, so there's a possibility somebody could actually touch up the back. But yeah, there's a little, let's see here, there's like these little kind of like tears and things along the edge there. But yeah, I think 5.5 is a very reasonable grade for this book, and just taking into account the spine wear, and then the more important thing on this one is the creasing that's on the back in these 2 spots. If that creasing wasn't there, I think this book could realistically get a 6. But with that creasing, after pressing, I think a 5.5 is very possible. All right, now we've got Beware number 6, this awesome pre-code horror skeleton cover. And again, this is one that's got quite a bit of general wear to it. a lot along the spine. First thing I want to check for when I see a spine like this is spine splitting. So I don't, surprisingly, I really don't see any spine splitting with this book. So that's great, because it's got, you can see this like staining and things that are going along on the top there. So there's a lot of other general wear to this book, but it's nice that there doesn't appear to be any spine splitting. There's a couple, you know, little tears and that kind of thing that are along the spine. And you've definitely got kind of these little like light discolorations, you know, light staining that's on the back. But with this book, the main flaw that you can see right away is this crease in this corner, this roughness up in the corner there. You've got some general wear along the edge, and then you've just got the spine. You know, you don't have the tears, but you do have a lot of little horizontal tears that are along the spine and a lot of general wear. So again, with these books where you've got a lot of wear like this, you're not really counting flaws, you're looking for limiting flaws. And to me, this book doesn't look like it can get, I don't think this one can get in the 3s. But it's definitely not a 1.0 range book, which to me, right off the bat, I would say it's probably a 2.5. Maybe it could get a 3. I think it's possible it could get a 3, but this is a lot of wear up here and a lot of combined wear on the spine. The general image is nice, and you do still have some, you can see you still have some glossiness to it, but I don't think this book could hit like a 3.5. So based on this, and this is one of those things where it's got to be based on books that you've seen before. That's really how it goes with a lot of these lower grades. And this book, I feel like, looks a little rough for a 3.5. I think it's nice for a 2.5, and so that's why I think 2.5, maybe a 3, is where this book is going to stand. And let's take a look at the interior. Again, I don't see any color touch. There's definitely some staining and that kind of thing throughout the book. But yeah, again, opening splash page is pretty awesome for this one. And let's do the flip through and just make sure we got all the pages. So that's the full book. You can see it has all the pages. It's attached at both staples. At the centerfold, it was fully attached at the bottom. It was attached with half of the staple at the top. So that's not something that's going to be a limiting flaw. So with the general wear on this book, I think a 2.5 to a 3 is where this one's going to end up. And I'm leaning more towards the 2.5 side of things. I think it's too nice for the 1s. I think it's better than a 2, but I struggle a little bit with it getting into the 3s. So strong 2.5, weak 3.0. All right, so now we've got Captain Flight number 9. You can see this is this pedigree little slip from for the Davis Crippen D-Copy collection. This pedigree is a 6.5 from Heritage here. Now, this one, I mean, man, if it wasn't missing that little piece up there, you can tell it would be just an absolute stunner of a book. But I'm gonna try to be as cautious as I can handling this one, and you can really see how glossy this book is. I've shown some books like this in the past, that Wonder Comics, for example, where you can see all the different layers, the lifted paint or lifted ink on the cover is just incredible. And then back cover definitely has some tanning, you know, and some wear up on the top there. So some tanning, maybe that's some light foxing. But on this book, the main flaws are this chip out of the spine here and this little chip here. It's not quite a chip, it's more like lifted paper there. But let's take a close look at this one. I mean, you've got a little crease up at the corner, and then Just a little wear along the spine. Just a really incredible copy of this book. You can see the bottom edge looks nice, sharp corners. Right edge in general, real nice, real sharp. Sharp top corner. And you can see the tanning. You can see a little bit of either tanning or it's like a dust shadow with the color difference on the cover. And then on the back here, we've got, again, there's some tanning and maybe a little bit of a dust shadow, maybe some light foxing. And this one, like I said, I have the grade label for it, you know, so I know what CGC gave this book. They gave it a 6.5. The question is, do I think if I send it in for pressing or something like that, does it have potential that could do better, or should I just send it in directly like this without having anything done? You know, if I don't really see anything that would be improved from pressing. And so with this one, it might be one that I just decide I'm just going to send directly in. And then hopefully I get the 6.5 again. You know, that's what I'm going to be hoping I end up with it. But you can't guarantee that because it's been cracked out. You know, that is a risk you take if a book has been cracked out. There isn't a guarantee that you're going to get the exact same grade because I've held the book, other people have held the book since then. It's possible it sustained more damage from their perspective. But this one's a little tricky to grade just because it's really, if it didn't have this, I mean, based on the back cover with the tanning, this book would probably be somewhere around a 7.5, maybe even an 8. You know, the back cover, because like I've said, the foxing I've seen hasn't hurt the books as bad as I thought they would. It's got some of that tanning, but with that missing chip there that we've got up there and this little piece down here, I can see the 6.5. You know, I can't really argue against it. It's the grade that it was given. I could definitely see the 6.5. I could see them maybe hitting it a little harder for that chip possibly when I send it back in. Maybe they give it a 6. I would really have a hard time seeing this get below that. I mean, this is just it's a stunning copy of this book. The main flaws are on the back there. I'm not going to do a flip through on this one. I'm just going to dangerously make the assumption that the book is complete. You know, you can see there's some tanning, that kind of thing, but I don't want to handle it with respect to the flipping through. You know, it's got a little tanning down here that you can see too. So I'm going to say 6 to a 6.5 is what I'm going to expect to get back with this book. It was graded a 6.5, so I think that's perfectly reasonable. And we'll see. I want to get that cool pedigree label with this one, so that's why I'm going to be sending this one in. All right, now the last book here. This is Journey into Fear, number 18. Skeleton creeping on this lady in her bedroom, and let's see what the limiting flaws are on this one. Actually, again, like, front cover looks pretty nice. You know, no big creases that are interrupting the image. It's got a definite well, actually not a definite spine roll. So it's the thing, this is a case where it looks like there's a spine roll, but it's a miswrap. So you've got some of the back cover out on the front, and so not a definite spine roll, but it does have this tear here. And so that tear is probably about 1¼ inches, maybe 1.5 to 1¼ No tears up at the top, but there is a tear. There are these little tears along the spine here. So for me right now, the biggest flaw that's on this book is this tear on the bottom. I don't think that's the limiting flaw in this though. I think it's going to be more of a general wear on the book. So let's take a close look at this one, and see just some general wear. There's this tear there on the spine. It's a little tough to see because of the spine roll. You've got a number of little tears here along the spine, and a tear here. So total tears because of the spine is probably maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches of tears on this book. Then let's go along the bottom edge. Again, so some general wear, some light creasing along the bottom, you know, breaks some color, that kind of thing. Then we've got kind of a bigger crease right here, and then a little bit of chipping, again, general wear along that right edge. A little bit of creasing in the top corner here, some general, the top edge actually looks pretty nice. Then you always have to make sure you check the center. There's not something you missed in the center. I don't really see anything that really jumps out. There's a little dimpling, that kind of thing. Not worried about that. Then on the back cover, so you can see how this looked like there's this spine roll, but when you go to the back cover, you see it's actually pretty tight. There's maybe a little bit here where it's kind of like, it's like twisted a little bit, but in general, really not much of a spine roll. Back cover looks pretty nice. Again, those tears carry through, so you've got that tear that's up here. You've got some more little tears along the spine. A couple bigger ones down here. So we've got this one here, and nothing else again that really jumps out. There's like a little chip on the bottom. But for this book, I think the main issue is really the tears. It's that spine is where the majority of the wear on this book is focused, and there's a lot of little tears that, with the back here too, with these ones, probably adds up to about 3 inches of tears. So if everything else is perfect, you had 3 inches of tears, be around a 4.0 is approximately the max. This doesn't look like a 4.0 book to me. It's got enough other general wear on it that I don't see it getting a 4.0. This also doesn't look like a 2.0 book to me. That's one of the ways you talked about this. To me, that's how I approach grading some of these lower grades. It's what have I seen with books that are in that type of condition. And this book looks better than a 2.0, 2.5 type grade. It doesn't quite look like a 4.0 to me because of the amount of tears. And so I think this book is probably a 3. Maybe it gets a 3.5. It's pretty nice presenting. If it didn't have this larger tear on the bottom here, it would probably be somewhere up around maybe even a 5, 4 or 5, something like that. But with this one right here, I think this is a 3 range book, so I'm going to have it as a 3 to a 3.5. Now we do need to check the interior, so I don't see anything that looks like color touch, bleed through, nothing that jumps out as like this book has been trimmed in any way. You know, it's got the overhang at the top. And somebody asked about that. When I say overhang, I mean that the cover is longer than the pages behind it. So it hangs over the pages. And it's why you often get lots of little bits of wear on the top there. Let's see though. Yeah. Might be. I mean, my only like minor concern is maybe the top edge was trimmed. The only reason I say that is, well, one, I do think that this book looks like it was twisted. It's like the way it's folded, it's like it's twisted a little bit. So, you know, the back cover you can see, and the front cover here, it's, you know, you've got like a bit of a twist here where it's now showing the interior pages. The only reason I'm kind of thinking that possibly is that this top edge is super clean compared to the other edges on the book. And so you can see that edge on the back here has quite a bit of overhang wear. You know, these edges all have quite a bit of wear. The bottom edge, this one doesn't look half bad. And, you know, and maybe the reason is that this bottom edge looks decent because it's got this twist to it, so it wasn't being exposed, and so it was hitting the pages in the front cover. And the same thing here, this edge wasn't being exposed, and so it was hitting this back cover, and so that's why you've got the wear on the bottom. So it's possible that there's no trimming there, and it's just from that twisting, and it's just how that book ended up being worn down because of that. So that's why trimming is tough. Trimming is one of the hardest things to identify, but because this bottom edge is also pretty clean, here you can see it like a little better there. You can see how sharp that bottom edge is. I think it would be very unlikely that they're like, oh, I'm going to trim this top edge here and this one bottom edge here and leave everything else rough. I think that's unlikely. So I'd say it probably hasn't been trimmed, but that was just something that jumped out in kind of my thought process working through seeing that. All right, now let's do the page count. So it's a weird interior first page, but yeah, let's do this page count and make sure everything's there. All right, so all the pages are there, 8 to center. Centerfold was very tightly attached. And so this book, I've got it at a strong 3.0, weak 3.5. I think that's where this one's gonna sit. And one other quick thing, just something that I always keep around for reference, and some people were asking about it, so I thought I'd show. ETA Nick, when he was doing his grading tutorials, it's one of the things when I first got into grading a number of years ago, I'd watch a lot of his videos. He'd make these little cheat sheets on basically what the high end would be for different types of flaws on a book. And so I just printed this one off from one of the, like I took a screenshot on his, when he did one of his videos and I printed it off. But just in case somebody wants to see it, so you can either write this down or screenshot this one. Sorry, I'll try to get it centered. So we've got, it's got creases, tears, moisture damage, interior damage, cover damage, and then just how he grades high grade books. And so this is all, here are all the details if you want to see these. And basically it's like, if nothing else was wrong, if you had these types of flaws, that's the max grade, at least from his experience, that you would get. I have seen some things that are a little outside of this, but this is in general a good reference point. And these types of things, they're helpful, but they're not all the be-all end-all for grading, because you know, you usually don't have just one of these flaws. You don't have just one tear or one crease or one stain. When you do, these are real great. But a lot of times you have multiple flaws, and so what they're good for to me is like if I see 3 inches of tears, max 4.0. So I know my limiter already is a 4, and I work down from there based on what else is on the book. That's how things like this can be very useful. Or you have covers completely detached, max 3.0. Covers detached at one staple, max 6.0. You know, those types of things that you can use to determine that limiting flaw and then go on and continue your grading from there. So, all right, I'm gonna flip the camera back around again and we'll close out this video. All right, so those were all the books. That was the grading. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, if you want a chance to get that Hulk 340, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and include #Wolverine in the comment for a chance for that book. Again, thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to see more of my videos, I've got some more over here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I've got the link for subscription right here, and I will see you in the next video.